I still remember the exact moment I accepted the advice. It didn't sound stupid. It didn't sound risky. In fact, it sounded comforting. The kind of advice that makes you feel safe in the short term. And that's exactly why it almost ruined my financial future. The advice was simple. Don't worry too much about saving or investing right now. Just enjoy life. You'll figure it out later. At the time, it felt reasonable. I was tired. I was working hard. Money felt tight, and the idea of postponing responsibility sounded like relief. I told myself I deserved to live a little. And honestly, I wanted to believe that things would somehow work out on their own. Looking back now, that was the most dangerous part. Not long after that realization, I came across a different way of thinking about money and responsibility, something that forced me to confront how my mindset was shaping every decision I made. It wasn't about quick wins or shortcuts. It was about identity. I'll mention it again later, because it became a turning point for me. Back then, I was living paycheck to paycheck, even though my income wasn't terrible. The problem wasn't how much I earned. It was how I thought. I avoided numbers because they made me uncomfortable. I avoided planning because it made me anxious. And every time money stress showed up, I used that advice as a shield. Enjoy now. Figure it out later. So I did. I spent without intention. I ignored savings. I delayed investing because I thought I wasn't ready yet. I told myself I needed more money first, more time, more clarity. And every month, the same pattern repeated itself. Late nights scrolling on my phone, watching other people my age talk about investments, freedom, options. I'd close the app feeling behind and spend money to distract myself from that feeling. It was a cycle I didn't even realize I was trapped in. What I didn't understand was that this advice wasn't neutral. It was actively shaping my financial identity. It taught me to prioritize comfort over progress, short-term pleasure over long-term stability, avoidance over responsibility. And slowly, without noticing, I started seeing my future self as someone else's problem. But what happened next challenged everything I believed about money. One day, I finally sat down and looked at the numbers I had been avoiding. Not just my bank balance, my habits, years of small decisions. Years of I'll start later. Years of listening to advice that felt good but produced nothing. The realization hit hard. It wasn't that I lacked opportunity. I lacked ownership. That advice had trained me to stay in survival mode, to think small, to react instead of plan. And the cost wasn't just financial. It was emotional. The constant low-level anxiety, the feeling of being stuck, the fear of the future that never fully went away. That's when my internal dialogue began to change. Instead of asking, how can I enjoy this now? I started asking, what is this decision teaching me about who I am becoming? Instead of avoiding discomfort, I leaned into it. I started tracking my spending. I built simple systems. I learned to delay gratification without feeling deprived. It wasn't exciting. There was no dramatic breakthrough. But something important happened quietly. I began trusting myself. Money stopped feeling like something that controlled me and started feeling like something I could direct. I wasn't richer overnight, but I was calmer, clearer, more intentional. And for the first time, the future didn't feel like a threat. So here's the real lesson. The worst financial advice isn't always obviously bad. Sometimes it's the advice that feels kind, comforting, and harmless. The advice that lets you avoid responsibility while telling you it's okay. Ask yourself this. What advice are you following right now that feels good in the moment but costs you later? What decisions are you postponing because later feels safer than now? For me, everything changed when I realized that mindset comes before money. And if you want to explore that shift more deeply, I've shared some psychological materials in the description and comments, the same ideas that helped me move from survival mode to long-term thinking. Because the truth is simple. The moment I stopped listening to advice that protected my comfort, I started building a future that protected my freedom.